Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Secrets for an Inspirational Life. How are you all this evening? We are here in the United Kingdom tonight, and I have to say it's late summer. Not such a warm summer, I have to say, but as I always say, it's something that's fascinating is all the seasons and how everything in life, including ourselves, changes through the seasons, and that everything that we go through has an appointed time, I believe. The people that we meet, the journeys that we take, the experiences that we share with one another, I believe that it is all for a far greater purpose than we could ever imagine. So I would safely say, take that opportunity, whatever it is in life. And if it makes you happy, if it gives you peace, take the chance, because life is far too short. And we are on this earth such a short time. If we can grab a moment of happiness, let's do it. Now, I am absolutely delighted to welcome my guest tonight, who is all the way in Quebec, Canada. Can you imagine? And that's the brilliant Phil Better. Phil is a podcaster, an entrepreneur, and an author. He is the producer of multi-top 10 podcasts. Phil's interest in podcasting first began when he heard one of Kevin Smith's podcasts on the network Smodcast back in 2014. In November 2017, he took the plunge and started his very own first podcast called The Phil Better Show. After a few failed attempts, his words, I have to say, some inner soul searching, he decided to start investing in himself by doing the one thing he's great at, which is connecting with people. He went on to start a new podcast called Invest in Yourself, a digital entrepreneur podcast, which he will tell us about later. Phil interviews successful business owners, entrepreneurs, and influencers from all over the place, as well as being invited to major media events like Startup SuperCup in Sarlat in France. Phil signed his first client, Lloyd Ross, and produces The Money Grows on Trees, the podcast, which sits at number 24 all-time in Australia for the how-to category after only 4 weeks. Very successful, I have to say. Phil's drive to be known globally as the podcast mogul means he's always looking to help out independent podcasters. Today, he shares his wonderful journey. Welcome, dear Phil.
Hi, thank you so much for the beautiful welcome, Mimi. I've never heard my bio read out so well. I was like just sitting and I was just mesmerized by how you were talking.
Oh, well, it's worth it, I have to say, because really, you do so many wonderful and amazing things. I have to say to the listeners, Phil has this whole list of things that he does and he's successful in. I didn't know what to write. So I thought, well, let's write a little bit, lay out the carpet, the red carpet for him a little bit, and you can walk the rest of the way and tell us how it all began, this wonderful journey of yours.
So, where it all began and where it's going. So where it began, like you guys heard, I started listening to podcasts back in like 2014, Kevin Smith's podcast. I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. Like I'm sitting on in my studio and on my desk, I have a small Funko Pop of Kevin Smith. I have all his movies. I'm just like, he is probably the the number one guest I want to have on my podcast. And I'll feel like I've made it when I hit that. But I started listening to him and learning about his career. And I'm like, I like this medium because I've always, I've been told that I have a beautiful voice or I have a face for radio. that some people said, but I guess I didn't really mind. I'm like, okay, you think my voice is sexy. I'm okay with that. And so I
You
always
have a
like,
brilliant voice, I have to say.
thank you. Thank you. I hate my voice, because of,
No, surely not.
yes, it's really weird. I hate listening to myself speak. So editing podcasts is like when if I have to edit my own podcast, which I outsource sometimes when I can to save me some time. But listening back to my voice, I'm like, why did I say that? My God, I'm pitching or I'm cracking. My voice is crackling. It's just normal. Like you're just super critical of yourself, and it's just getting out of your head. But like the more and more I hear people saying like, "Oh, Phil, you have a great voice," and this and that, I'm like, but I have to listen to this. It's not so great. This is only a short period of time. I live with this voice, So
it is a fantastic. I have to say, when I first heard your voice, I thought, do you know the program that was in the States, Midnight Caller?
I think so, vaguely.
Yeah, it was a long time ago and I was really young, but I absolutely was mesmerized by this Midnight Caller who was this radio DJ and had all these life stories, a little bit like podcasting in those days. And I used to think, oh my goodness. And as soon as I heard your voice, I thought, it's the Midnight Caller. That's it.
Wow. I now need to find him out. I've been told that I look like Kevin James from King of Queens, PJ Stock, who is a former hockey player and stuff like that. But I've never said that my voice sounds like a radio DJ called
You have to look him up. You have to look
definitely
him up.
am. So going back to my origins, so listening to Kevin Smith being like, okay, I can do this. It doesn't seem that hard. I checked up how to do it. And like back then, it wasn't very well known. Like it was like on the niches of niches, like it's super small and there wasn't a lot of info. So I clobbled whatever I could. I would download PDFs, get on emailing lists and just like see if I could like learn how to just like launch a podcast. I had no idea. Cobbled together my equipment, launched the Feel Better Show, which is a failure, but also a success. And the reason why I say it's a failure and a success is as a podcast, the goals that I wanted it to reach, it hasn't reached them yet. Pardon me, or the goals that I had originally set hadn't reached them, but it's a success because it taught me everything I needed to do and learn and avoid when I launched my other podcast, the Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur podcast, and my other podcasts since then. So it ran for, it's still running, but in 2020, I had a burnout at the beginning of the year, just before lockdown happened. So it was in February. I had a burnout from life, from work. I had my personal life was kind of in shambles. I had just ended a 7-year relationship. Funny enough, the same year that I ended the relationship with an amazing woman, it was like I was the problem in the relationship, and through therapy, I've learned that. I was able to go to London for like 72 hours.
Oh, okay.
And visit. And here's the thing, like we were speaking just before, like off air, about how you can connect with people, right?
Yeah.
And my podcast, I originally connected with a whole bunch of other pop culture fans, because my Feel Better Show is about pop culture. It's a movie review show I do every Saturday live on my Facebook page and its Facebook page. That I review a movie and we talk the news with one of my friends who's also in Britain. He's my pop culture expert, Aaron Talks Films. And before that, it was my buddy, DJ Overflow, an amazing Montreal DJ. But because he has gigs on Saturdays, he's getting too busy for us. And I couldn't pay him the same rate because that podcast wasn't making money. I had my friend came in, Aaron. So because of that podcast, I connected with about a dozen other podcasters internationally and actually in England. And so in like August, I flew over and spent 72 hours, landed in London, saw the Crown Jewels, Tower Bridge, saw a bit of and platform 9 3/4, then took a train up to Leeds, visited and met someone that I've only talked to either through Discord or through podcasting or through a Facebook group. And I met him for the first time, and it was such an awesome experience, like connecting the visual, like you see pictures or you see some videos, but like when you meet the person in real life, it's like, it's a whole different connection. Like it becomes more solid, like, cause you can lose your internet friends easily, and everybody does. But once you've met one in solid, there's a difference. Like you connect with them. And then we ended up meeting about a dozen other podcasters that were in the same forum, that we all had either been guests on their podcasts or started around the same time. And we had a great night out. It was like, just like, oh my God, this is like, for me, it's like one of the best moments of podcasting in my life, and one of the best moments of my life.
Oh, that is wonderful. That is wonderful. To put that experience into words, it's very difficult, I think.
Mm-hmm. It is. And it's like, you make these connections on podcasts. Like my digital entrepreneur podcast was started because after my burnout, like, so 2019 happened, mess up situation, burnout. And then like the rest of 2020, we're all stuck at home, right? So I started watching YouTube videos on like how to make extra money, start a side hustle. Cause like I've always had that like drive to not be an employee, because it's like I saw the struggles that my dad, my family had gone through. And it's like, no, I can't do that. I'm too creative. And like, I've been butting heads with management, which leads into the funny situation about my two surnames. The reason why I have two, or I go by two people. So Feel Better was created, quote unquote, for my as an online persona, because I work for I worked at the time for a financial institution, and they had a very strict social media policy.
Oh, I see.
So I created Feel Better to be like a buffer, that it's like, it's not really me, it's someone else. So like they can't really come back like, this is you. Like obviously the photos are all me and that, but it's like, it gives them a bit of a buffer, because I didn't work in branch or front facing. It's only voice facing. And because I sometimes like I worked in a call center. So like it wasn't that bad, because if I tweeted something out or did anything, it's like, it's under Feel Better. It's not like Phil Lemire in essence, even though it's the same thought process, it's the same person, you know? And so as I continued, I was like, you know what? My side hustle started, like, it's only recently that I'm starting to connect the two people as one individual, like Phil Lemire and Feel Better are the same person, because I do have a goal by November. And that's why I kind of says like, I am working, but I'm not, because I'm slowly backing away from working at my current, my day job to do my business full time, because it's starting to produce that type of income that it can replace my day-to-day job, and frees me up to be able to sit and do interviews at different times of the day, you know? So like my goal is by November to be working full-time podcasting, or, you know, producing podcasting, anything with podcasting. And how I did that was I started, like, as I was learning from all the YouTube stuff, and it was like, okay, I need to create content, but I also need to start a business, like, to do all of this. And like, how can I do like 80-20 my life? Like, how can I do 20% of the work that can generate 80% of the content that I need? And so I had been watching Gary Vee for a long period, and he's like, just film your life and film everything you do. Podcasting is coming up. So I'm like, okay, I know podcasting is coming up. So I'm going to start a podcast for interviewing entrepreneurs to learn how to start a business and be an entrepreneur. Funny enough, the common theme after 100 episodes is you just start, and eventually you become an entrepreneur. It's, you just find your first client, like have a product, sell it, and just continue to do that and figure out as you go. Like most of the entrepreneurs just go, I want to do this, and they start doing it, and they start seeing how much they can sell. So that's after 100 interviews with successful entrepreneurs, ranging from people who just started all the way to someone who owns a sports team and a millionaire investor who started his own side hustle business. So like, now, yes, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. So that we're clear. So you have your own podcast, or do you have several podcasts?
I have several. So I have, the first one is the Feel Better Show, which is a live show that's turned into a podcast. I have Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur podcast, where I interview entrepreneurs in the digital space. So anybody who has either taken their business because of Corona, because of 2020, into the digital space, started a business in the digital space, or has been in the digital space many years. Then I have the Invest in Yourself, the podcast series, where I take my knowledge and I interview podcasters from around the world, as well as give 15-minute episodes live on my Facebook daily or weekly, talking about different topics that can help you grow your podcast, monetize your podcast. I have Stock Dirty to Me, which is a podcast that is a live stream from a investing group that's closing in on 50,000 members, and we break down the stocks that the members vote on, and then after a couple of weeks, we release it as an audio version, and it just got released. It started the 1st of August, and we've been releasing weekly episodes since then, and we just hit 10K after like 4 episodes, so we're really happy about that. Then there's the Real Boys podcast, where I'm one of 8 hosts and producers for a podcast where we review and rank our top 5 movies. So we each submitted 5 movies, our top 5 movies, and each week we review them on Monday, and then on Fridays we review a movie of the week, usually either a brand new release, or we spin a wheel and that movie is the one we review. And then I have a Better Pain podcast, a wrestling podcast that I have with my friend, where we get to talk about independent and professional wrestling.
My goodness, you see, I told everyone this was just an amazing thing. Because how do you find the time to do all of this?
So as you were finishing the question, I decided, hey, now would be a good time to take a sip of water instead of right when I finished. I created a system. Like I like to go by like also the lazy entrepreneur, because I don't want to work hard. And because I've been doing this between working my full-time job, I have to do a lot. I have to take care of a lot of stuff in a short amount of time. So my podcasts, my live show, like I have 3 shows that are live streamed. Those 3 shows are, I start exactly how I want my podcast to start. So it starts exactly how my podcast starts. I add, and then I just transfer them into, using Audacity, I transfer it into audio, and I add some music to it, and then I upload it. And I already have the templates already done, because I already have done these, done the thing in my content calendar, like my templates for my show notes, my templates for my live shows. Like I've templated my life out for my stuff so that it's quick, easy turnaround. And so that when I interview, it's like the minute it's like the day is done, my day job is 9 to 5. And then at like 5, I do my live show, and it's for 15 minutes, usually 15 to 20 minutes. Then right after that, sometimes I have I get a bite to eat, because I'm about to go hard. And sometimes I go from 5:30 all the way to like 10:30 at night. And then from 10:30 to like midnight, I'm editing, I'm setting things up, I'm uploading to YouTube. This is like either my stuff or my client's stuff. And also between those times, if I'm not podcasting or I'm not interviewing people, I have prospecting clients coming in and talking to me about how podcasting can help them. And I'm up at like 7 o'clock in the morning. And I do from 7 to 8, I do my morning routine, which is I go for a 30-minute walk, and then I do my little mini exercise, shower, and then I start my day. And from 8 to 9, it's like I book as many 15-minute meetings as I can before I have to go to my day job.
You're very dedicated, I have to say. What drives you to do that? What is the motivation behind it? Because it's a dedication. It's a discipline in a way. How you're explaining it is a very disciplined life. What is the inspiration behind it?
I want to be free. I want, like, I have, like, my big goal is, like, my biggest life bucket thing is to stand on, it's really ridiculous. And I feel so embarrassed saying it at times, but at the same time, like, you have to own your embarrassment. You have to own your truths.
No,
right?
say it. Say it.
I want to be able to say that I've stood on a starship in space, like on the bridge of a starship in space. I've always been fascinated. Like, my first memory of movies is sitting down and watching Return of the Jedi when I was like 5 or 6 or something in my uncle's basement. That's like my first, like, serious memory I can remember, is like that memory. And for the rest of my life, I've always been intrigued by space. Like, I'm super disappointed because I watched the Jetsons when I was younger, and I'm like, where's our flying robots? You know, like our flying cars, you know, robot maids. Like, we're supposed to be here now, you know, like bases on the moon. Like, what happened? And it's like, you look back at what happened when, like, I was younger, and I'm like, okay, that's why we don't have what we have, because you guys are more concentrated over here instead of, you know, the advancement. And that's getting political, but anyways, so it's like, my goal is, I'm like, I see Elon Musk, I see Richard Branson, I see Jeff Bezos, and I'm like, yes, they're doing the goals that, like, our government should have done. So I'm like, yay. And so it's like, I'm getting one step closer. So I'm like, if I can get enough influence that by being known as the podcast mogul, like the guy for podcasting, there's a chance that, like, one day I'll interview, you know, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. Richard Branson has been a hero of mine for years, like how he became an entrepreneur and how he got his first, like, I read his books, like all his books, but one of his first ways that he got advertising for the Virgin magazine was he would use the operator to connect with these businesses. So it sounded like the operator was his secretary. So it's secretary calling secretary. Automatically, you get put through to the big guy, right? Because it's like, oh, it's a secretary. It's not some Joe Smo. And then you have, like, this younging talking to this, like, business guy trying to get advertising for this magazine that's not even created. And look where he is now. He flew in space. Like, for me, that's like ultimate. Yeah, let's go. If he can do it, I can do it. And now it's just, how can I connect my way up to that level, but also bring value and help other people along the way and share with them, like, this is possible. Like, if a 36-year-old, 36-year-old in Quebec, Montreal, Quebec, Canada, can figure out how to, one, start a side hustle that starts bringing him income that can replace a day job and connect with these amazing people to learn from, and anybody can do it. Like, I have a friend who loves photography. I'm like, let's do a 30-day challenge with photography, you know, or like I just, funny enough, just before we jump on the phone, I got a message from a friend, well, a client, like coaching client friend, like, it's a friend. I'm helping them monetize their podcast. And he just said, and I posted it out to my Facebook and all that to share. And I, after asking permission, of course, because I'm not mean like that, but it was like, I took your advice and got 6 local businesses to promote 2 meetings with business owners and 3 on the fence. So he's gotten 6 businesses to promote on his podcast that hasn't launched yet. He has 2 meetings with business owners upcoming, and he has 3 that are currently on the fence about taking a meeting with him.
Wow.
Just like, and it was I offer, like, if you go to my website, and I don't want to plug my website just yet, I'll wait till the end, but I offer a free 15-minute call, and I will give you something actionable. Like, if you're like, Phil, I want to learn how to grow my podcast, I'll be like, okay, you need to do this. If you want to monetize your podcast, I'm going to tell you to do this. And it's these things that I tell you work because, one, I've done it either with my podcast or with someone else's, like one of my clients' podcasts or someone else I've helped. They're like, this is what I did. Like, my podcast series, I did it because I wanted to learn how to grow podcasts better. And like, what are some traps that other people have faced that I haven't, because I did something differently, you know? So I interview all these different podcasters to learn about their story, because I love learning about people's stories, just like you, because why else would you have a podcast where you interview people, you know? Like, if you didn't like hearing someone talk for like 90 minutes, you know, why would you have a podcast, or why would you put it out there? But I love learning from people. And like, I also want to give people advice, because I'm like, you're taking 15 minutes of your time to, help me grow who I am. I'm going to give you some actionable advice so that you can go to the next level with whatever you're doing, either with your podcast, in your business, or in your life. I don't want to be like a life coach, because I'm like, nah, that's not who I am. I'll look, this is what I did. You can try the same thing, but it's on you to take that dedication. Because it's like you said, if you're not dedicated, you're not going to get the results. And I have a goal. I have a goal to stand on that Starship. That's my goal. I want to stand on our Starship. I'm going to do whatever I need to get there. And it's just by doing what I'm good at. And it's if 6 years taught me anything, I can connect whoever I want because of podcasting.
Now, it's fascinating because you talk about this Starship and this fascination with space. So what is that? When did that begin? And what is it that, for yourself, Phil, has that attraction of space?
The unknown. It's just I am so curious about learning stuff, about people, about anything. I read books on everything, and just the idea, from watching Star Wars, from watching Star Trek, from watching, Galaxy Quest, and watching all these movies about space and sci-fi, I've always been I want to, is there life outside of our solar system? What is it like to step foot on another planet? I want to know, what is it like to stand on Mars, or stand on the moon, or, Pluto, even or any of the planets that won't destroy us, pretty much, and see what it's like, or even be just be in space and be zero G, floating around, and you're oh my God, this is amazing. But at the same time, you're traveling hundreds and thousands of kilometers an hour, but you don't feel it because you're floating in space.
That sounds like a dream in a way. And I want to share with you a story, actually.
Okay.
I was in London once, and I was with my friend, and it is relevant, I have to say to you. And yeah, it is a little bit like the story earlier. But anyway, that myself and Phil were talking about the relevance of actually, how can I put this? Getting the right end of the stick when you're talking to somebody. I think that would be the most,
that's apropos. Yeah.
So there we were in a carpet shop, and I'm absolutely in love with Oriental carpets. So I have a love for them. I own quite a few, and wherever I go in the world, I'm always looking at carpets. So I had this, a little bit like you with your Starship. Now, the reason that I like the carpets is not the carpet itself, because I've always been searching for this magic carpet that can fly. So we went into this shop, and she was with her partner then, who wanted to buy her a gift, which was a carpet. And I was there, and I just happened to be there. And he then offered to buy a little carpet for me, which I have to say I was rather excited about. And the guy in the shop was, I don't know, he was Arab or something. And I couldn't decide on a carpet. So I was looking and looking and looking, and we were there 2 hours, and she was looking. And then he came up to me and he said to me, I think I know what you're looking for. I said, what's that? And I said, I'm not sure of the colour or the pattern. And he said, no, I think I know what you're looking for. And I said, what's that? He said, you're looking for a magic carpet. Well, that was it. I was totally intrigued at that point. And I said, that's right. I'm looking for a magic carpet. He said, let me tell you a secret. So there I was, of course, a good storyteller and all of that. I said, what's the secret? He said, the secret is, it is not the carpet that flies, it is us. I said, oh. He said, if you can fly, the carpet can fly. I said, well, how can I fly? He said, now that, my dear, you'll have to learn through life. And Phil, I was so fascinated and totally mesmerized by what he said. So when you were talking about this starship, if we go beyond the physical of this starship that you want to go on, maybe it's also a yearning for all of us, because I think we're all fascinated with space. We're all looking up at the sky and the stars and the moon out there, and somehow feeling this pull away from the earth and into some other sphere. So how much of it do you think it's maybe that's pulling you into some other place that you want to be?
I think it's that. Yeah, I do believe like in manifestation and believing that there's like another dimension, because like sci-fi is something that interests me. Like it's science and fiction coming together, and the exploration of the metaphysics as well is interesting to me as well, because everything is possible until it's been proven impossible. And even then you can probably make it possible. You know, like we never thought we would land on the moon, you know, like 50 or like hundreds of thousands of years ago when we were just like cavemen. We never thought we would be able to land on the moon. And like in the last, like not even 100 years, we've landed on the moon and sent things like there's a planet in our solar system that is, you know, populated by robots right now, if you think about that. So I always think, it is. People are learning to go to the next level, like learn what's next. Like it's something it's the question of like, why are we here? And as you grow as a person, you start questioning. As you grow older, you start questioning that. Like I remember being younger and being like, oh, I can't wait till I'm older. I have my house. I have this, I have that. And then I'm sitting back here now and I'm like, man, I didn't waste my youth, but I could have done so much more. But at the same time, it was like I needed to wait till there was adequate availability of podcasting to find my passion, to find my pull that can help me go and get those dreams that I have. So I think it's like everybody has that pull to find why they're here. And it's like, for me, it's like my standing on a starship is kind of like that's the reason I can give myself for my why. Why am I here? It's to stand on a starship. But in the way, I'm going to help as many people as I can to reach out and find their why as well.
So do you think it's the starship is in a way a manifestation of something in the physical realm, but really it's a yearning in the non-physical that is pulling you somewhere else to discover more beyond what we can see with our physical eyes?
I would say, yeah, it's because I guess you could say it's kind of like I want to be like James T. Kirk and explore and gain knowledge of the unknown. And so I want to learn as much as I can about the unknown, like what is going on. Like I'm always interested in the sciences. I will never be able to like become a scientist because it's like the knowledge base and the dedication to it. It's just too much. But if I can learn like 20%, that can help me, or like at least make me be more intrigued to learn more, like just have a surface understanding. That's like my goal, is to have like know as much as I can, be like a jack of all trades. And but use my way of podcasting is, I guess, my starship to do that, to explore the worlds, if you will. And I kind of, wow, that is so weird. That I just kind of like, I feel like I'm in a therapy session. My therapist would be so happy.
Actually, what you've just said is quite remarkable in itself, because somehow, in a nutshell, you've described something beyond this world, but as well as being of this world. It's like the podcasting, by listening to people's stories, and I definitely do learn so much about life from listening to stories and life stories, and especially, you know, because people are from all over the world. So it's a glimpse into their world. So in a way, you're doing your sort of intergalactic traveling pre finally reaching that point where you want to be.
Yeah, like, wow, that's so like these moments that happen in your life, like because I do believe in like manifestation, and the world will like, if you believe it, it will come, because like so many things have happened to me in my life, like me manifesting getting my first client, and then working towards it. Like, I know it's hard work, but it's also, you have to have that first thought. Like, you have to have that first thought before your body will start putting in the action to do what's necessary. And I've always been talking about more and more about being a starship, like standing on a starship, being in space, and taking a different look by like speaking with you and looking at it as more of a metaphysical and more of a representation of a goal of mine. Like, podcasting is that. Podcasting is my starship. I am the captain of that by being the host of the show. And every time I do an episode and I talk with someone, I'm exploring a new world that I never had the opportunity. So I can now die happy. Thank you, because now apparently I can die happy. That is my life goal is complete. Thank you very much. I can retire.
Oh dear, what planet are you going to retire on?
I don't know yet. I so far, I like the planet of capitalism so far, because I like money, because it gives me the freedom to do what I like. But I think I'll still explore. If I have to, I'll go Jean-Luc Picard and hire out my own crew and explore the world as a rebel.
Yes, as a rebel, but with a cause.
Yes, of course.
As opposed to without the cause. Yeah. Now, you talk about freedom, Phil, and what does freedom actually mean to you? What is it that you would like to do, being a free man?
So it's so interesting, because I've asked this a similar question to entrepreneurs, like, what is your definition of success? Because obviously everybody has differently. And my definition of freedom, my definition of freedom is the ability to just decide one day that, you know what, I want to go here. And I don't have to worry about, money coming in. I don't have to worry about, I have to show up to work because my boss wants me to. I can just be like, you know what, today I want to take the next month and just travel Europe, or I want to take the next month and, go to Germany and just try and learn German, and just like entrench myself. Like, I read The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And I keep reading it because it's just so amazing. And the fact that like, if I can just spend 4 hours a week working on my business or on my hobby or whatever it is, and then have the freedom and the money to do what I want and just travel the world or provide for my family. Like I want to be able just to do what I want. Like, I'm not hamstrung by, it costs too much money, or I'm beholden to someone's timesheet and I have to deal with their time and, do it on their whole schedule. I can do it whenever I want. Like, the freedom to be beholden to no one and live a life that I choose.
And do you think that's possible without money? Could you become, for example, like a dervish and travel the world? And, people pick up. I have a friend of mine and she picked up her 2 children, her husband, and they've been traveling now for 3 years around the world. Although now it's difficult. Mm-hmm. And the pandemic hit and it became a little bit more difficult, I have to say, but not impossible. And for them, it's wherever sort of they lay their hat is their home. Is that something that you could do, Phil?
It would be something that I'm interested in doing. I always had the dream, like I never got the opportunity when I was younger, or I didn't seize the opportunity, more apropos, to do spend a crazy month backpacking across Europe or doing anything like that, because I was so concerned with getting enough money so that I could start my own business or I could pay for school, because I had to pay for my university studies. I had to pay for my own car. So I was always working to get my money right. And I never really had a teacher, like a proper mentor to teach me. So I couldn't do that. And I've always been like, adventures like that have always been like, oh, I need money. And I'm learning less and less that maybe not, but I have a fear of just losing everything, and knowing that I can build a business that's kind of automated, that just can generate money, and just this, in essence, an expense account that I can play with. Like, I don't mind like traveling and staying in hostels or staying dirt ridden, but it's at the same time knowing that if I want, I can go to like a 5-star hotel and have like be pampered, after, living in the dirt or something. But I would thoroughly enjoy that, because I think it would be the best way to learn about people and a culture, by experiencing life in a different viewpoint.
I have a friend, and she has been traveling for over 20 years. And for her, it's not important to have money in the bank. For her, and that's just her experience, of course, it's important to be free. And she is always saying that to me, Mimi, I have to be free. And her freedom is to go around the world and to live here 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and move on. And for her, that's freedom. And I think for everybody, it's a different state, freedom. But if we fear that we will lose everything, I think we never really learn to live, and we don't ever taste life. So sometimes just giving into that fear, I have found in my life, I have to say, realizing that it's an illusion, truly, it can have an absolutely remarkable effect on one's life.
I would agree, leaning into the fear. And yeah, it's something that I'm working towards. I'm kicking down doors in my fear list. Recently did stand up for the first time in my life.
Oh.
So I am kicking down doors. There's certain fears that I look at, I'm like, is there a way to avoid it and not worry about that fear? And right now, having 2 jobs in essence, as well as being a content creator, I am building to that point of freedom, because I'm connecting with individuals who know vastly more than I do, and creating systems that can help you have the freedom that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Like, I would like traveling the world, and 1 month I'm living in, San Juan, south of the border in Mexico. Then, the next month I'm in, Brazil and having fun during Carnival, or, in the Bahamas, or I'm, in South Africa in Cape Town learning about stuff there, or I'm in, I'm going trekking across, India and Pakistan and places like that. Like, I want to explore the world. I want to discover like the earth, because it's such a beautiful place. Like, Canada is gorgeous, and I saw a lot of Canada and the US, but I'm ready to explore a lot more of the world. And I would love to be able to do that and have the opportunity, like when I do go to a place and I can see, okay, how can I affect change? Like, I want to help people. I don't want to be the white savior type thing. I want to look, you guys need some stuff. What can I do to help you make it better? And by me knowing and learning how to do it myself, be an entrepreneur and think like an entrepreneur, and learn some techniques that can grow people that are cheap and easy and cost next to nothing, that's what I'll do. Like, I'll help. And because I have the money being automated, like when I go to a place that's like an impoverished place, and because I hate poverty, like I'm like we have too much money, like we can fix these things, like come together, like world, like stop being assholes, so like if I can go there and like be, all right, I have 100K, I can build a school with 100K in this small town, in like, in this impoverished area, and I can bring education that can help them, I'm going to do it. Like, I can go, I'm like, okay, I have the money. Let's just do it now. Like, let's get it done now. Let's help them now so that they have their stuff. And then we can start changing the world for a better place. Like, bring people up to where they should be, where there is no squalor. People are not going hungry. There's the stupidity that there's such a vast difference between the rich and the poor world is like ridiculous. like the gluttony that we're having, and we're just causing a cascading effect that's going to hurt the world. So like, I want to become like, I know if I get rich enough, I can start impacting change, and I'm working my hardest to get that monetary ability so that I can travel and do the change that I want for like help people grow.
But you don't need to have a lot of money, Phil, to make those changes, because in certain countries, even let's talk the British pound, because that's what I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
For £500, for example, which is not a lot of money, you could build a well. So you could go there and you could take the money, because my friend used to do it. And sadly, she died, but she used to take wheelchairs to Africa and build schools, raise money as a charity, and then just take the money there, talk to the elders of the village, and they would build a school. And it didn't cost a lot, because you can set up an organization and do that without actually having to, have a lot of money yourself. You could get other people on board, and especially with the skills that you have and the expertise that you have and the people that you know and the connections, I think that would all be possible.
And it is in the works. It's one of the goals that I have to hit, is to help. And I do help a charity, a local charity, with their stuff. And I'm in the process of, I do want to have a charitable organization that helps not only impoverished people, but mental health is a very important thing in my life, because my brother lives with paranoid schizophrenia. So I am working with my family to do that. And it's just right now the time I'm trying to grow something so that I can automate money towards it and quit my day job, so that I have, like, instead of only having like 5 hours a day, I have 16 hours a day that I can dedicate to other activities in my life that I can grow and make things better. Like, because when I do something, I go all in. So if I'm going to do the charity, I need to go all in on this charity. And going all in means it's my clients suffer, and my content that my audience is listening to suffers. So if I can get to a point where I have more freedom to do it and satisfy my content needs and my goals as a creator, I'll do that. I'll be able to do it. So it's like, I have many goals, and each goal, once I accomplish one of the goals, I move on to the next one and grow to that stage so that I can be like known and get even more attention. Because if I want to launch something big, like a charitable organization, I want to be able to call on mass media, in essence, to come to it and do a huge event instead of just relying on my small supportive group. If I can get more eyeballs on it, that's the better. And that's all the connections I'm doing.
And I think it's a wonderful quest of yours, because there's so much opportunity there for you to even travel when the time is right, and to meet these people, and to still do your podcasting and to help people, because you will meet people in so many different parts of the world that you don't know who you're going to meet that's going to change your life, and in what way. And chance meetings can bring out the biggest and best changes in our lives sometimes.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, because if I didn't have the chance of interviewing Lloyd Ross, I would never have had the opportunity to sign him as a client and move to where a position now that I'm slowly moving to being able to do this full time.
Are you happy where you are, Phil? Does it give you joy in what you're doing in your life and what your achievements are? And because you've done so much, does it give you this sense of serenity, I suppose, that you're following your dream?
I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy that I'm following my dream. I'm not satisfied yet. I'll be satisfied and really happy when I can say I've quit my day job and I can do this full time. Because when you get to that moment, that's a real realization that you're a business owner, and now you have this ability to do what you want and build this company the way you want. So that's where I'm really excited for.
So you are able also to help people set up their own podcast. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. I offer different services for my business. I anywhere from, monetizing your podcast. I help you monetize your podcast. I help you grow your podcast. I sit with you and we develop a plan, to full on podcast production where I sit down with you. Either I do it for you. I set up the whole automated system so that it's easy for you to do your podcast and get guests and be on podcast as a client, as a guest. Or I have the done with you, where we sit down and I work with you every couple of days and we build your podcast together so that you know how to do it and you can continue to grow your podcast yourself.
I think that's a fantastic service, because so many people say to me, how do you start a podcast? But I'm no expert, I have to say. I may be in other things, but not in podcasting, although I have a podcast, obviously. But people in need who want to start a podcast, for someone like yourself, Phil, because it's a minefield out there. And if you want to do it as a full-time job in a way and taken seriously, there are strategic steps, aren't there, that you must take?
Yeah, you have to realize that it's not an overnight. Like, you can get some things overnight, but it's a grind. It's a job. Know that you're going to be putting in extra work depending on how successful you want your podcast to be and how easy you want to roll it out. Like, most podcasters start without a plan. They're like, I'm just going to record. And then they just jump into it. And then they're like, wow, there's a lot more to this than I thought. And then they get overwhelmed, and then they get what's called pod fade. And it usually lasts until they get 10 episodes out. And then they're like, okay, this is too much work. And they forget, they don't have a why. They don't have a positive outlook at what they're doing. And then it just sours. And you have to learn that starting out, you need a plan. You need to know where you're going. What's your vision? What's the purpose? Like, is this purely a hobby, or is this a method to get monetized? Because if it's a hobby, then you're doing it completely for fun, so you shouldn't care. But if you have plans to monetize and grow it as a business, you need a plan. And you need to be able to follow a plan, and having someone that has done it beforehand and that can guide you along the way is the smartest way to do it. Everybody needs coaches. I have coaches to help me in my business world, and I provide coaching to other people as well if they want.
And where can people get hold of you?
If people want to have a free 15-minute call, they can contact me at www.feelbetterinc.com. And book a free 15-minute call with me.
And also, what other places can people find about your podcasts and what you do, Phil?
To find out more about me, follow me on Instagram at podcaster Phil Better. And that's pretty much the best way to find me. And then I have a link tree to all my other podcasts. But if you want to hear more about entrepreneurs and learn how to avoid certain pitfalls to being an entrepreneur, you can go to the entrepreneur website, www.investinyourselfpod, that's pod.com. And that will bring you to that podcast, The Digital Entrepreneur. We're in the process of setting up a proper website to bring it all together, both brands, the podcast series as well as the entrepreneur series. But we're on all the major podcasting platforms. Just search Invest in Yourself or Feel Better, and you can find me.
Amazing. Absolutely. I love what you do, I have to say. And it has such an effervescence about it. What's wonderful is that you can actually feel the dedication that you have. And that is still lacking, I think, in the world today, is a dedication to follow your dreams, because they don't just arrive. You have to work at it. Anything that's worthwhile, you have to work at it. And you really show that. And I love it. I love what you do. And I love this, I suppose, this fire of your spirit that inspires. Even listening to you, I think, well, I must take some advice from you, actually. because my goodness, you are a fountain of knowledge, and I think it's wonderful what you're doing. And I wish you every success in whatever you're doing. I hope that one day you will be on that starship, and who knows what planet we're all going to meet on someday.
Thank you so much, Mimi, for the opportunity to share my story with you and your audience. And of course, hit me up. We're friends. You have my email. We're buddies now. Any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer for you and get you whatever help you need regarding your podcast, because I think your podcast is an awesome story of ability for people to share their stories with.
Thank you, Phil. Oh, and before you go, I always ask my guests this, a couple of lines of inspiration for people out there in these times, really, something that's helped you in your life that keeps people going, some words of wisdom.
Some words of wisdom. Okay. So I have two things that I sign off every Facebook post with, and it's something that I try to live my life by. It's be better, be Phil better. And you can replace it to being your name and think about who you want to be in like 5 years from now. In 5 years, you're going to be a completely different person. And you're going to be 5 years older, but do you still want to be the same person you were five years ago? So by me saying be better, be Phil better, I want to be better like in 5 years. I want to be that person in 5 years. So it falls into the second thing that I always post on my Facebook posts. It's invest in yourself. No one's going to take you seriously if you don't invest and learn about the knowledge and put in the time and effort to be a better person. Be it, if you do one push-up a day for the full year, that's 365 push-ups you've done in a year. Imagine if you did two a day, or even 3, or you went for a walk every single day and you did 10,000 steps. That's 3,650 steps you walked in a year. Little actions that you take over time will help you grow into the better person you are. And that's going to build the dedication it is to grow and be where you want to be in 5 years. So just invest in yourself and be the better person that you can be.
That is absolutely fantastic advice. And as you were talking there, Phil, something went click in my mind. When suddenly something falls into place, and it's the thing that it was is that every little bit counts. Mm-hmm. And that's the important thing, because sometimes people say, but it's going to take ages to do this, or it's so much effort, and where am I, I can't even be bothered to start. But unless you start, you never know where the journey's going to take you.
If I didn't start podcasting 6 years ago, I wouldn't be where I am today, having my own podcasting business, having 4 podcasts in the top 10% of podcasts worldwide. You have to start, and you start small. Start with a small little learning. Do 30 minutes of, reading extra a day of a book that can help you. The best book I could advise you, if you do want to change your life or start a side hustle or get some extra money, if that's something, is The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. It is an amazing book that actually shows you how he did it himself, as well as giving you access to other people who have done it. Or even Think and Grow Rich, if you want to learn how to manifest something of your desires, read that book. It helps you. I'm noticing things that I wanted to have 5 years ago are happening now. And it's like, okay, like this power of manifestation is real. Let's work on it and just learn how to do it so that you can compound the effects over time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on today, Phil. It's been an absolute honor and a pleasure to have you here.
It's my distinct honor and pleasure to be on this show and talk with you and learn, share my story with others, and show that it's super easy to go after your dreams. And using a podcasting is a fun way to learn as well, because you can talk with individuals that you inspire you. So thank you so much for having me on.
And my best regards to Quebec, Canada, a beautiful country, I have to say.
Yes. I definitely will give it a hug. I'll go hug a tree as soon as we're done.
Yes, please do. And come again to England.
I will. I'm planning on it. Don't worry.
Yeah, come to England, and we will have to meet up, because, people like yourself are really an inspiration out there.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right then. Bye. Bye.
Feel better. Extraordinary to meet so many people across the world. And what a gift he has. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I wish you beautiful moments and lots of love. Until next time, take care.
Thank you for listening to Secrets for an Inspirational Life, brought to you by your host, Mimi Novic. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast and see you in the next episode. For more information about Mimi Novic and her books, music, and inspirational work, take a look at her website, www.miminovic.co.uk.